father passed away in 1936, and they were on it was a closer settlement block at Bridgewater. It was during the Depression time, and I think they were 18 months behind in their payments on the block, and the mother they sold the place up and she got £100, and Norm Headage sold this block at where we came to at Milltown, I think 108 acres for £450. And it had a 4-bedroom home on it, a new 2-bale cow shed, and a new shed next to the house with the separator for separating the milk to get the cream and so forth. But when we came from Bridgewater to Milltown, a chap by the name of Stan Douglas and myself drove I think it was 14 or 16 cows from Bridgewater to Bothwick's at Portland the first night, and the next day was a big day. We brought them from Portland to T.H. Laidlaw's cattle yards in the town of Haywood, and the last day was a 7-mile trip from Haywood out to Milltown.
And how were you travelling, you boys?
We were on horseback, but very little traffic on the roads. The biggest drawback was the bridges like the Surrey and the Fitzroy at Haywood, and to get the cattle over those, they were the big worry. I think they're only milking about 8 or something like that, but the mother or the sisters used to help with that. Milking, we used to have to milk them when we come home after school of a night, and carry the buckets of milk down from up at the cow shed down to the house, which was a fair distance to carry buckets of milk to separate and so forth.
And did you have pigs to feed?
Only 1 or 2 pigs. We used to have that for our own use. For our groceries and that were delivered to the door. Came out from Haywood, and the grocery bill used to be around about 16 shillings a week. And every fortnight we got a quarter of a sheep from a neighbour. He used to bring it over on Sunday morning for us, and it was 4 and 6pence. And we used to get a kangaroo occasionally, or I used to trap rabbits. We'd have rabbits a couple of times a week. Mother'd make the bread and make her own butter and the cakes and all that thing. And it was a pretty tough time for us. It was I that paid the mortgage off, trapping rabbits and cutting wood and so forth. I used to cut wood after I knocked off school of the night for the railways, which was 4 and 6 a tonne delivered at the Milltown station.
And how much wood would you cut after school, do you think?
Oh, probably half a tonne. Yeah. It's white gum. It's the burning wood we've got here. The messmate's a lot, cutting it with the axe is a lot easier to cut and split as well, because the grain in the white gum is pretty tough. Yeah.
So you'd be only cutting limb wood out of white gum, would you?
Yeah. Well, you get into bigger stuff you wouldn't. No, we used to have to cut some with the axe, but or if you get into the big stuff, we use a crosscut saw, cut it off. You know, we'd cut gum, the big part, the butt end of the gum off into post lengths or something like that and split them. Yeah, just depends on the grain. You get a good grain white gum, it's all right, but a lot of this twisty stuff, knotty, see, makes it very tough cutting.
So that was a couple of bob that you wouldn't have had otherwise.
That's right. Yeah.
And your mother kept the garden?
Yeah. She had a garden, wouldn't buy any vegetables or potatoes or anything like that, grew all those things and made their own bread. It was a crime to buy a loaf of bread. Absolute crime.
Extravagance.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, in those times. Made their own butter, you know. Myself, two sisters, I was the oldest of the family. When we came here, I was 11. June, she was 9 and Fran was 6.5 or 7. I just don't exactly know their birthdays. But the sister told me yesterday that old Vic Peters from Tirrandara, he brought the furniture up, and Mum and the two girls came with him in the truck, so the cabin would be pretty full. For the summer, she said, of £2.5 to shift the furniture up. Oh, it must have been a terrible battle for her, but the neighbours around the place were extra good. There was a Mr. Franklin just down the road. He came up and he knew she had too many cattle on, and he gave a free adjustment for cattle on his farm down there. And the Frost family over there, both their sons came over and gave me a hand to do fencing and for no pay. Just unbelievable. Yeah.
Did you ever see your mother distressed?
Oh yes, she had a lot of worries. I'd say she used to worry about me, falling trees and cutting wood, and those sort of things. And it was later on in life. I think I was I left school when I was 14, and I was started cutting wood. I think the first lot was around about 40 to 50 tonnes into the Milltown railway station for 4 and 6 a tonne. It was a big check for that. But after that, I got a contract with the Conda Butter Factory for 25 or 30 tonne, a 4-foot wood, which was only 40 feet to the tonne. We were getting 9 shillings a tonne, and I got a Mr. James out of Hayward. He carted that for me to Conda, and I decided that I'd invest in a truck, and I bought a truck off a Mr. Stevens in Hayward for I think it was £70. No licence. I had an invalid chap that had a licence. It was up near the Milltown sawmill, and he used to drive it for me. And we used to started carting the wood to Conda in our own vehicle then, and we just spread out from then. I carted wood for the Hamilton Base Hospital, dry wood it was. I had half a dozen Aborigines cutting it on a block, dry wood, 4-foot wood with the axe. And I think they were getting about 5 or 6 shillings a tonne. I just don't know now. But and we carted that to Hamilton. And I carted wood to Hayward too, for the bakery and private people. Before I got the truck, the horse and the trolley built by Vic Sibley Motors in Hayward. That's how we survived, got going.
So when you're cutting with the axe, say 2-foot wood, how many tonne a day would you cut?
Flat out, when I started, I was flat out to get 2 tonne of it a day. Yeah. You know, the railways were very particular on how it was cut and the size, and how it was stacked at Milltown. You couldn't have any air holes through or where rabbits could run through or anything like that. No, very tough. We went to school at what they call Greenvale, which is over on the highway. It's a bit confusing, and it was the Mount Ecclesey School. And we used to walk across the paddocks here to the neighbours over there, Frosts, and then up through Moore's paddock to the school.
How far would that have been?
Mile and a half, I suppose. But that was nothing to what we walked at Bridgewater. No, it was only a short trip over there.
How far was it at Bridgewater?
Well, I suppose it was 5 or 6 miles from the Cape right out, you'd know where the school was. Yeah. But we had a pony, and the three of us used to go on the pony to school, but if you got lame or anything, it was back to walking. Yeah. When we came here, there was only about 8 acres cleared and sown to pasture, and the rest of it was all bush. But it had a netting fence around a lot of it, and the neighbours and self of a weekend, 2 or 3 neighbours gave us a hand, and we pulled the netting fence down and fenced in about 40 acres to keep the rabbits out, and that's what we cleared first by hand. And later on, bassets dozed about 10 acres here, dozed 10 acres for us, and I think they dozed it for somewhere about 20 £20 an acre, I think it was then. Well, as I said before, we cut all the green timber level with the ground, but there'd been some of it, the trees had been fallen higher, about 4 feet up. Well, we pulled the stumps out of that with a block and tackle with 2 or 3 horses, or burnt it with the stuff we pulled out. We put around the bigger stumps and burnt them out, which was a big job. In later years, we ripped them out with a ripper on probably 10 or 15 years afterwards. We ripped the stumps out of the ground, got rid of them.
So, just getting on to the just sort of general life here, social activities and so on. What was Christmas like for you kids here?
The mother's sisters were school teachers, and she had a sister, an Auntie Peg in Melbourne. She'd come up sometimes at Christmas time, and another sister, Auntie Wynne. There was always some of her family here at Christmas time. I remember Uncle Ann and 2 of his boys coming up here at Christmas time, and were amazed to find out that for water, all we had was a 1,000-gallon tank here, and to get water to have a bath, we had the horse and the sledge with a 44-gallon drum on it, and they came with me down, I suppose, nearly half a mile to what they called the 3 water holes, and we used to get it out of a dam there, fill it, this 44, and chuck a bag over it and put a bike tube around it and drag it up here to the house for water.
And then what?
Well, I had a copper outside,